Shalom, Kwal Hala, Yahweh. First and foremost, Kwal Hala, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Akrakadosh. Double honors to the head apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations to the Yakim out there on the highways and byways and always in this road abroad, all around the world. And yeah, so I want to get into this real quick because this is gonna be a response video to the elder Imas and how he said about Israel, in particular Israel, because only Israel is going around saying that, only God could judge me, and all of this crap, that, pretty much what they're saying, that they're above, man, that ultimately that they're above Yahushai, because they could do whatever they want, and and they feel that only God could judge me. I don't need you or anybody else for any kind of correction that I do, which is pretty much, it all goes back to pride, you know what I mean? Because that's just a prideful, egotistical, and being just egotistical and narcissists, which is, this society promotes that, the society promotes narcissism, this, the pride of these people are just, throughout, just throughout the roof. It's just amazing. But, we the saints of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and the men that are out there, in particular GMS, the brothers that are out there on the highways and byways, north in this world abroad, we can judge. And when our purpose of being out there on the highways and byways, is to judge all things, and to judge, this wicked society and this wickedness, And even back then, during the time of King David, back then, they didn't have that mentality, back then, to say that only God could judge me, or they didn't have the mentality to say, oh, let the Lord deal with me, because back then, the Lord deals with his servants, the prophets, There are prophets upon the earth that the Lord deals with, and that the Lord uses to judge the man that commits wickedness or that commits that sins. Like, for example, case in point, when King David went off and took the wife of and took Bathsheba when she was married, the guy slips my name, but and took she was a married woman, she belonged to another man. So when King David took that woman and laid with that woman and caused that the brother to be put in the front lines to be killed, what happened? The prophet Nathan, the Most High sent the prophet Nathan to judge him for that, So ultimately, it's the Lord that is the Lord that uses men to judge, because we are the modern day judges, the prophets, we are the modern day seers and the judges. We're out there in the highways and byways week after week prophesying the downfall of America and to try to wake up the hopefully elect. And between that, we're judging this world. We're judging the sins of the so-called white man, the wickedness of the so-called white man and all these other nations, So we are the modern day judges of this earth, whether you like it, believe it or not. And I want to get into the scripture here in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 2. Well, let me start at 1, actually. Dare any of you having a matter against another go to the law before the unjust and not before the saints? And it says, do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? Who are the saints? The Israelites, in particular the elect. And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matter? You know? So we are to judge all things, you know, as the scripture says, do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? And we are judging the world. We're out here judging, you know, the crimes of the so-called white man, you know, and these other nations that had us into slavery, you know. So we're out here judging, and we're out here judging, you know, the 2/3, you know, these 2/3 wicked Israelites, you know. So we are the modern day judges, whether you believe it or not, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And in verse 3, know ye not we shall judge angels? You see, we also should judge angels, you know. We have the power to judge angels, you know. We're going to be judging the angels as well. Not just men in these fleshly bodies, you know, but also angels, you know. So we have the power to judge angels as well as men. So this bullshit saying only God can judge me is just total nonsense. You know, it's just narcissistic. You know, it's just, you know, narcissistic and egotistical to say that. Which anyway, that goes that goes back, you know, that goes back to the words of Tupac, you know, because Tupac came up with that song, Only God Can Judge Me, you know. You just following the philosophies and the ways of, you know, these rappers, you know. That just goes like that old saying goes, monkey see, monkey do, you know. You're following the ways of Tupac. Only God can judge me. That whole thing came from Tupac. You know, what Jake did was Jake just heard that and just ran with it, you know. And just mimicking and following the ways of man. Which goes back to the scriptures, you know, in Proverbs, you know, there's a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the wages thereof is death, you know. And look what happened to Tupac, you know. He got put to death, you know. He got put to death. He's dead. You know. And that's judgment of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. But ultimately, the Most High is the judge. You know, ultimately, you know, he sanctions death, life and death. Ultimately. But also, we are judges too. You know, his prophets, the servants, the prophets. We ought to judge you too, you know. Just like King Saul, you know, he was judged. He was judged by Samuel, you know, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, when he had failed to execute the commandment that the Most High gave to him, you know, through Samuel, you know. He failed to obey the words of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and didn't execute the judgment upon Amalek, which he was supposed to take him out, or not to take up the spoils, you know, of them, you know, or not to take anything of them. The Lord gave him a specific commandment was to destroy everything, you know, all cattle, all matters of livestock, everything, you know. But he didn't do that. So what happened, you know, when he failed to execute that, when he failed to execute it, to do or to obey what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai told him to do, you know, he was judged, you know, through Samuel. Because Samuel was the modern day prophet of that time, and the modern day seer and the judge, you know. That's why anytime Samuel came to a town, you know, the people feared, you know, because he had the power to judge, you know. The Most High gave him that power and authority to judge, you know. Likewise us, you know, the men that are out there on the highways and byways, doing this work, We are to judge all things. And reading on. Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertaineth to life, So the question is, how much more pertaineth unto life, the things pertaining unto life, How much more that? So we have the right to judge. And we are to judge. So all that bullshit, that you're getting from these rappers or whoever is promoting the bullshit, only God can judge me, is totally, out the window, We are to judge. Reading on. If then ye have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise man among you, no, not one, that shall be able to judge between his brethren, So we are able to judge out here, And we're doing that right now, We, the saints of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, are judging the world. Judging the wickedness of this world, All matters of all things, Of this world that's not in alignment with, the scriptures. That's not in alignment with the law, statutes, and commandments. We are to judge, That's what judges do. And we are the modern day judges, And it's really ridiculous too, because the same ones that are saying that only God could judge me, but yet I could guarantee that, that you were in a court, that you committed some crime where you had to go to court, and you were judged by Esau, So where is the whole mentality of only God could judge me if you're sitting up in Esau's court systems and he's judging you and execute judgment upon you for breaking, the laws of the society, So all that shit is all bullshit. The same thing happened to Tupac, He was once in court and he was being judged by Esau. So this whole bullshit, only God could judge me, is just utter bullshit, It's just narcissism, and it's just pride, to be honest. But we are the saints of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. We are to judge because it's in the scripture. And I just proved it right here of the book of 1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter. So with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Raquah Kodash. Double honors to the head apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and salutations to the Akim out there on the highways and byways that's noising this road abroad. And with that, I want to say shalom.